All right. I honestly, I don't understand this Bulls team at all. This is a ridiculous game to win. And wow. Honestly, congrats to them. They did a hell of a job winning this game. Horrible start to this game. This was honestly, this start to this game was like one of the worst starts I've seen, honestly, from the team all season. And you know, they've had some bad games and bad starts to games, but the first couple of minutes of this game was disgustingly bad. And honestly, man, I'm kind of shocked at what I'm seeing from the Timberwolves recently overall. They lost that game to Utah when they had a large lead in that one, and then they lose this game here, which, I mean, the Utah was up, with about 4 minutes left to go. Bulls couldn't score, and they find a way to lose it. So, wow, man, this was like, I wouldn't call this like a clean game by the Bulls by any means. Like, there were struggles throughout this game that were kind of hard to watch. First quarter especially, the fourth quarter drought on offense was kind of awful to watch, and it was really pissing me off. But the Bulls were able to pull this out. I think defensively, honestly, the Bulls had some pretty, really solid moments. And it honestly was the biggest difference. After a horrible first quarter, kind of overall defensively, where the Bulls were giving up wide open threes and couldn't get defensive rebounds, we saw the second quarter, the Bulls adjusted pretty well, and were closing out to shooters, and they didn't give up offensive rebounds. And then throughout this game, man, I'm just like utterly shocked, just like seeing some moments like from the Timberwolves where I'm just like, wow, that probably should have been some points, but you messed it up here. And we also have to talk about Chris Finch, because I think Chris Finch is a god-awful coach. He did something in this game that I think kind of went under the radar of what some of his decisions were. And, you know, I wouldn't really put it as like game plan stuff, but I have always been a Chris Finch hater, and I was just like, man, you're deciding to take a timeout in these certain moments, and it really helped the Bulls. So we can definitely thank Chris Finch for, honestly, I think this win. He was a big part of it. So we all owe Chris Finch like $10 for getting the Bulls this win. So yeah, hell of a game, honestly. Josh Giddey returned and looked absolutely phenomenal, and on offense specifically. Defensively, we still have some issues going on, but hey, man, he's just coming back, so I get it. I will say though that I don't like. It was kind of just like the Bulls did enough in this one. There weren't really like the best performances. Like Vooch kind of sucked. It wasn't the best Buzelis game overall on offense, but defensively, I thought Buzelis was honestly doing really solid this game. We saw Kobe White's kind of struggles throughout this one. Like, there were just some bad moments on turnovers, and then obviously that fourth quarter he was kind of forcing some shots, but he also hit the big three about the 1 minute mark to keep the Bulls in it. Obviously Giddey had a good game, and I think this man right here is honestly I think he's the Mr. Crunch Time right now for this Bulls team. I don't think the Bulls win half of their current wins in clutch time games if they don't have Tre Jones this season. Tre Jones has been phenomenal in crunch time all season long. He's honestly been the main ball handler for the Bulls in crunch time. And he's come through a lot of times. Even in games where the Bulls don't win in crunch time, he's the main guy in crunch time, and he has absolutely come through. Do I agree with, benching Buzelis for him necessarily? No. But I also don't know if we really needed Vucevic out there. So you could have played Buzelis as well as Tre Jones in crunch time. But, that's a whole nother argument that I don't have the energy or currently the feels to do so right now, because I'm not exactly in the best health again. But, yeah. I think this man right here, I would be interested to see what the Bulls do with this man, because I think a lot of teams, including the team that we just saw tonight, could be heavily interested in his services. So we're going to talk about the Bulls trade deadline in tonight's stream a little bit, and obviously talk about this Bulls win on the road. I do think it gives some more kind of excuses for AK to basically not do anything at the deadline, which is not going to make me very happy. But either way, still, it's a very solid overall Bulls win, where I do think the backcourt did play a big part. I think Buzelis has defensively played honestly really well. And it wasn't, a Vucevic-led type of win. So I think it's honestly a much better overall win compared to me that Utah Jazz game where Vucevic basically carried the team to the victory. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about in this one. If you could hit the like button in the stream, please do. It helps me out a lot. I'm sorry, I don't have my usual energy. I'm just battling just sickness, and I'm doing my best here. So I do apologize, and I've already missed enough games this season due to illness, so I'm gonna just keep pushing here. But we will definitely, it's not gonna be like a 2-hour stream, which I usually want to do. Who's not good enough defense to close, but didn't? Yeah, I agree overall. I think Buzala should have just played more in general in this game. Like, I honestly don't really see a reason why to play Vucevic with the way that he was playing. Like, he really wasn't doing too much out there. But, you know, Billy Donovan decided to go with the double big to end the game, when I feel like Jalen Smith could have just been the center. But also just Vucevic played too much, in my opinion. I know Jalen Smith had foul trouble, which was kind of part of the reason why Vucevic played as much as he did, but, yeah, I agree that Buzala should have probably closed this game. First half, Booz and Okoro especially had some good defensive moments on Ant. I think, yeah, Buzelis really shocked me in an ISO moment against Anthony Edwards, and he completely locked him up and forced a mid-range shot. I think Buzelis overall, early on in that game, was like playing pretty well defensively, like all around, not just on Anthony Edwards, but just also on other players as well. He was also like early on in the game, he had like the Bulls like only 4 rebounds, like early in the game, which, like, yeah, that, like, all that is huge, especially defensively. So I think Buzala, especially in the first half, had a pretty solid overall game defensively on all aspects, like not just guarding Edwards. He was doing a pretty decent job of just being where he's supposed to be, coming over and helping, but also I was seeing the rotations were proper, even like when the Bulls decided to double team in the post. You know, it wasn't like he was getting lost in rotations. So it was pretty solid overall game from Buzelis, I think, on defensive end. I was kind of confused when he had that drive. It was around like the 4-minute mark in the fourth quarter when he drove. Like, I was shocked he wasn't shooting somehow. So like, he probably should have gotten some free throws to score some more points. But yeah, I mean, either way though, like, this was one of my fears when Giddey did come back, was just that I think Buzelis, who I think has done a fantastic job since Giddey's gone down, I was concerned that Buzelis' shots, like overall just shots that he's going to get, are just going to decrease, and his minutes is going to decrease. And unfortunately, even with Giddey just coming off the bench, we did see that today. And that's not saying it's Giddey's fault. It's just the way that the Bulls offense is just run, and like he becomes like the tertiary option. So I do hope that the Bulls do look to keep him engaged in the offensive end moving forward. 8 shots tonight in 27 minutes tonight is not enough, in my opinion. You know, if he just closed the game, he would have gotten, 32 minutes, which is, that's fine. But 8 shots, like, and I know that's not him not shooting the basketball, because this, Buzelis wants to shoot three, shoot anything at any given moment. So I do think the Bulls need to find ways to make sure that he stays engaged. But, I understand that they're running 10 guys out there. Yeah, who's that one? I had a few. Yeah, I do think that the Bulls overall did a good job in Anthony Edwards, but I also do think Anthony Edwards just missed some shots tonight. And it came at a good time. I was honestly like, the last 3 that Anthony Edwards shot, I was just like, I knew that 3 was coming, like even myself, because I've seen Anthony Edwards, get that play run for him many times before. And, like, I knew it was coming. I was kind of upset with how the Bulls guarded it, because I'm like, that play is coming. Like, I saw it, and that's a wide open look for Anthony Edwards. Like, this is the man that's been like one of the best in the fourth quarter, one of the best players in the fourth quarter all season long, and he just didn't have it tonight. So came at a good time, and Bulls did a good job overall. Like, I think Okoro obviously started on him. I think Trey Jones, with what he did in the second half, did a good job. Ayo had some like decent moments guarding him, especially. Like, I think that everyone did their job on him tonight, and that was everything, because that man averages 30 points per game. Barry Bulls game 2, Kobe had a dry streak in turnovers and a good streak. Oh, for sure, yeah. It can never be a Bulls game without this season, at least, without Kobe at least getting like 3 turnovers in a game. So I didn't like a few missed passes of his, but specifically an example of the comments 4:40-ish remaining in the fourth when he missed a wide cut to instead take a crappy shot and miss. Was that the possession where the Bulls like came out of the timeout and like nothing happened on that play? I'm trying to remember. I'd have to look at it again. I don't exactly remember every possession here, but I do think Kobe in that fourth was like really struggling. It was very shocking to kind of watch, but I mean, he made one of those buckets that was pretty crucial before he made the three. But you could just tell that like there were some big issues with the backcourt in the fourth quarter. Like neither Giddey or Kobe could really find anything for a little bit. Hence the scoring drought happened. And it's just like Trey Jones has to come in and save the day. I'll go look at that. He got smashed in the first quarter pick and roll screen navigation. He also then got like messed up on like when he was like closing out like Jane McDaniels. Like he just wasn't just guarding him for some reason. Like he would just let him go by. I understand it's his first game back, so I'm not gonna be too critical of his defense in his first game back. Like that's that's conditioning and just getting back into game shape and everything. But yeah, I was. And don't get me wrong, I think a lot of people in the first quarter were getting absolutely wrecked defensively. It wasn't just him. That's a little less so scored a bit more up stuff, which is good, honestly. Like this sort of Giddey, I actually like seeing more of. Where like I don't think Giddey had an assist going to halftime, and he had 18 points. Like if it was up to me personally, I want that Giddey every day. I understand that this is not the Giddey that we're gonna see every night, but. If it was up to me, like that's the Giddey I want to see, because I'm like, yeah, if you could give me 18 points and a half and I can trust you to do that, like that's great. I know Timberwolves fans will say we got bailed out by the refs. I don't think the Bulls got bailed out by the refs, honestly, at all. Were there questionable calls in this game? For sure. But do I think it was both sides that have some questionable calls? Yeah. I thought the Bulls honestly were getting kind of screwed over on some of the times that the officials called it sideline out of bounds. On the play, like they called it non-shooting foul, and I'm just like, that should be free throws in my opinion. So honestly, if you ask me, I think the Bulls should have shot more free throws tonight. I don't think the Bulls got bailed out by the refs at all. I think if anything, they got screwed over by the refs tonight. Because there was definitely some moments where I'm just like, no, like we should be shooting free throws here, and we didn't get it, like including that Buzelis drive that ended up getting fouled and going to the free throw line. But like, to me, Buzelis should be shooting free throws on the first initial foul. I was shocked that he wasn't. My credit to Giddey this game was his help switching second half. It was all right. I think it wasn't like, something spectacular, but it was all right. I do think his rebounding also in the second half, he got some pretty key rebounds, was pretty huge. And obviously his passing in the second half was, on full display. So he did a good job. The one thing you could do sometimes on that end is choosing one to help. I agree. I do think that he has some good instincts on that, and he needs to do that. Timberwolves fans suck if they think that was a bailout. No. Oh, definitely not. No, this was the Bulls were not bailed out. If anything, I think the refs actually helped the Timberwolves tonight, because I think the Bulls should have shot more free throws. Like, I'm being dead serious. Again, this is coming from me, who's a major critical person of this Bulls team, and doesn't like this Bulls team very much. I think the Bulls, honestly, were getting screwed over by the refs. Like, I think the Bulls should have went into that fourth quarter with a bigger lead. And if the refs were just not stupid, I feel like we should have had more free throw shot. So, no, I think if Timberwolves fans are saying that, they're just being ridiculous. I think if you're Timberwolves fans, you should be, honestly, really concerned right now, because you've blown 2 games now to two teams that are under 500. Now the Bulls are 500, but... like, I mean, either way, if you're supposed to be one of the contenders in the Western Conference, like, you cannot be losing these games. And, refs aside, I feel like you should still be winning, even if the refs aren't exactly in your favor. You should be that good of like, your defense, especially, like, in moments tonight, like, you're a good enough team to win, even when the refs are not really in your favor. And I'm just like, no, man, like, I think the Bulls honestly outplayed the Timberwolves a lot tonight. The Timberwolves just played absolute garbage. So that's not the Bulls' problem. Yeah. Edwards going to get by the D enough? Yeah, I do think that the point of attack on Edwards tonight was pretty solid. Also, the Bulls did a good job. This is something that they didn't do against Kevin Durant for whatever freaking reason. I don't know why in that Rockets game. It pissed me off. But when Anthony Edwards was trying to go into the post one-on-one, the Bulls doubled. And like, I think that's what you should do. Like, you definitely should be doubling Anthony Edwards in the post. Like, especially if like Trey Jones is guarding him, like, that you need to double that. Anthony Edwards is too good in those situations to just allow to go one-on-one. you need to double that in the post, and the Bulls did that, and I appreciate that a lot, because they didn't do that for some reason against Kevin Durant, and I don't know why. Like, they basically just told Isaac Okoro against Kevin Durant in that Rockets game, like, yeah, go ahead, it's up to you, buddy, but we're gonna double Şengün in the post though, when I feel like we don't need to. Like, I was very confused how the Bulls did that, but so yeah, very, very solid defense on Anthony Edwards tonight, which is honestly, it's 2 games now in a row for the Bulls where I feel like their defense on one of the main ball handlers on a team, like they did against Harden, and now they did against Edwards, like it's pretty solid. Something we haven't really seen all season long. Usually these guys, find a way to kill us. But I do think that the point of attack defense has been better overall, which is a really good sign. I feel about Berenjay's performance in this game. It definitely wasn't good. I thought the Timberwolves missed some lobs to him at one point, but yeah, it definitely wasn't good. I see he's still very raw. Now, I will say, there have been some games with him recently that have been like really solid from him, in his minutes that he gets. But yeah, it definitely wasn't like really anything spectacular tonight at all. Nothing really be on display. So, yeah, I'm sure that a lot of Bulls fans that were maybe aware of Berenjay were like, well, what the hell is this? But, I personally see the potential in him. Like, he's still very raw as a prospect, but like, yeah, he didn't really do anything today. But there were moments though, I thought that the Timberwolves could have lobbed it up to him and it would have been pretty good decision, and he probably could have gotten it. Welcome to Mark's pre-chat. We are in a lot of agreement. Yeah. Officially 0.5. Sorry. Oh, officially 500, yeah. Did you see Kenny had a fan send him a funny stat, and he showed it? The Bulls started all 4 or 5 of the last seasons, 18 and 21, I think it is. Yes. So so I did see that stat, and then there was the whole stat that came out of like the Bulls record at the halfway mark that I wrote about. Like, the Bulls have basically been at the halfway mark. They've been 19 and 22 3 of the last 4 seasons. It's just, yeah, we're in just straight up mediocrity, unfortunately. So yeah, it's bad. And the one season we weren't that, we were 18 and 23. So it's not good by the Bulls at all. It is truly peak Bulls. They were both thinking of Boo's Isomo and was really good. I agree. He owned Ant locked. Was a highlight of his good D. I agree, yeah. Boo's not getting the losses very useful, as he has a lot of the right stuff positioning, sometimes slash awareness. Last season screwed him over. I completely agree. I do think that Boo's zealous last season, there were moments that I expected him to get a block for him just to come on over and just come up and be in the help rotation spot, and I think that he would have gotten the block if he was just aware and in the right spot, but he just, mistimed it. And his awareness was too late. I think this season we are still seeing some moments of it from Buzelis, but like I see much more moments now where he is absolutely on time and ready to get the blocks when someone tries to drive. He's coming over at a proper time and he's getting the block. Like, it's good. He didn't have a block in this game, but I think he was honestly doing just fine with his rotations today, especially with when they decided to double Edwards. Like, they did a good job, and that's very key from him moving forward. Yeah, he had the ISO defense against Anthony Edwards, which was good. Yeah, and it was definitely a game, and maybe it's a little bit of the Timberwolves just playing like shit, but it definitely didn't really seem like to me that the Timberwolves were like actively seeking him out on defense, like, because there have definitely been moments this season where you see the opposing team try to seek him out on defense, but they force a switch where he's guarding us like a smaller guard, and so they just blow right past him defensively with their speed, which, yeah, I don't expect him to keep up in terms of foot speed, but like he can't not offer little resistance. Like, he has to offer that resistance, and today at least, like, that wasn't happening, right? Like, Anthony Edwards tried to get past him, couldn't, and the Timberwolves weren't actively seeking him out defensively. So it's either he was doing a good enough job, or the Timberwolves are just garbage. So who knows, honestly. But either way, though, I do think that Buzelis' defense recently has taken a big step forward compared to what we were seeing earlier in the year. I've been very pleased with how he's played in these last 10, 11 games overall on both sides of the ball. There are games where he goes into halftime with 3 blocks. Like, that's very good to see. And I think that if Billy would just play him more, that we would be a little farther ahead in his offensive development than we are currently now. But at least what I've seen so far is that I am seeing a development defensively from him, assuming that this does continue with how I've been looking at his defense recently. But yeah, I still, like, no matter what, like, I'm glad Giddey's back and all, but I'm just saying that we gotta play this man more. Like, Giddey off the bench almost had the same amount of minutes as Montes Buzelis tonight, and Giddey was supposed to have a 24-minute restriction, and Billy just blew right past that. So I honestly just think the Bulls are just handling this just still not the greatest, but that's just my opinion at the end of the day. Of course, I don't get to coach this team. To balance the offensive control on the team, I would keep Giddey's and Trey's and take some of Kobe's and Vooch's to give to Buzelis. Obviously hard to pure dictate, but just do from each and give to Buzelis. So mainly for me, definitely Vucevic would not get as many shots, especially if, like, I know Vucevic has had some recently, like, good games, but again, I just don't need him around right now. Yeah, I do think that Vucevic can have less feature or be featured less in the offense. And I think it'd be a good decision. Yeah, maybe Kobe a little bit, but I also am just aware with Kobe that, like, he's gonna have to, like, get these shots up just to be effective. Like, that's his role on this team. So I don't know how many we can, like, take away from him, but I do think, though, like, I don't know what it's really gonna take. Maybe we need to, like, play Buzelis with the second unit or something. Maybe that'll help him, like, get some more shots. But it just, the way that Donovan has handled him, like, when guys are, like, fully healthy, it does kind of really make me upset. So I don't know. I think Buzelis performed just fine when Giddey was out, like, with more offensive responsibility. Like, he performed, honestly, better than I was expecting. So I'm just saying we need to get him those shots for sure. Bulls aren't doing any trades after this win. I did say that earlier, Woodage. Yeah, like, I think AK definitely is going to look at this win and use it as an excuse to be like, yeah, we don't need to do anything. All I'm going to say is this, okay? When it comes to the trade deadline, which we can move on to in a little bit here, but here's how it's going to go, okay? If the Bulls sell, that is the most proper decision, okay? That they should absolutely be selling right now and not be, in my opinion, they shouldn't be buying. If you're going to buy, it should be like a very buy low scenario, and you're not really giving up much, okay? But for the most part, the Bulls should be selling. That's what they should be doing. Do I think the Bulls are going to do that? No, I don't. Which then leads to either the Bulls do nothing or the Bulls buy. At least in my opinion. So I guess the way that they buy does matter, but I guess if, like, for example, if they, like, if they trade for, like, Misi or something, like, okay, like, you at least kind of did something. Which is better, at least in my opinion, than just standing pat. But I will say, if the Bulls go and buy a bunch of vets because they think it's going to help the team win, that would be the worst case scenario versus if they just stood pat. So it does matter, but I think overall, I think that the Bulls standing pat is, like, the worst possible outcome of the trade deadline. I think not selling off some of these pieces is an absolute travesty and malpractice of the way you're handling this team. But you already have Bulls fans right now, I've seen it on Twitter, that are very much in on this team still. Like, they're very much believing that this team is gonna go on a run and make it pretty far. And hey, I mean, with wins like this, like, they have all of the evidence now to back it up. Unfortunately, then I get to then point to some of these terrible losses that we've had, most recently to the Brooklyn Nets. But it's people are in, and so if people are bought in, which means that tickets are going to be sold. I feel like that the front office honestly doesn't really have any, like, much of a reason to do anything, especially now that the Bears season's over. Like, I feel like ticket sales are gonna skyrise because there's no baseball for a little bit here. It's the prime time right now for the Bulls to get some revenue. So yeah, I'm really hoping that the front office is going to at least come to terms and just sell off some pieces, which they should. But do I think that they're going to do that? No. Do I think that they might buy? Yeah, I can maybe see it. I don't think Zion's coming. I think the Pelicans are going to hang on to him, but do I see them buy some, like, pieces? Maybe. But I might lose my mind if the Bulls just stand pat, because it just is like, it is honestly like the most stupidest decision if you just stand pat and do nothing about it. Yeah. Slightly easier to double Edwards, as well as have less options than Rockets with Alpi, etc. Well, right. It's just that with the Rockets situation, I was just so pissed off at how Billy Donovan, like, because I broke it down on stream. I was so pissed off at how the Bulls defended the Rockets in that game, because they decided to double Şengün, which means that they're rotating off Kevin Durant in their rotations. Like, let's just think about this for a second. You don't double Kevin Durant when he's in the post, okay? But you're willing to double Şengün and then have to rotate off Kevin Durant to double Şengün. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I actually believe that in that Houston Rockets game, like, the Bulls coaching staff, like, gave, like, one of the worst, like one of their worst performances of the season of just decision making, because when they decided to double Durant, it was basically when he was at the half court line, when he's not a threat to score, and that was at the end of the game, right? And so it put the Bulls in like a 5v or a 4v3 on defense, and Jabari Smith was hitting shots, right? Like that Rockets game by the Bulls, like what the coaching staff decided to do was just absolutely just stupid. It was generally just insane to watch, because I'm just like, you're not willing to double Durant when he's 16 feet away from the basket and is one of the most lethal mid-range ISO scorers in the freaking league, in league history. But yeah, you're willing to double Kevin Durant when he's like 38 feet away from the basket and he's not a threat to really score. And it immediately puts you into a 4v3 situation defensively, and he can pass out of the double team because he's 7 foot. Like, it just didn't make any sense to me with how the Bulls played that Rockets game. And I honestly still am losing my mind over it. But in this game though, like, yeah, I do agree that, yeah, if you double Edwards, like, there is like no like Kevin Durant to like go ahead and kill you, which does make it easier. However, I will say this, like, Dante DiVincenzo is a very good 3-point shooter. Jay McDaniels this season shooting a 3-point shot well. Like, there's definitely like weapons around Edwards that could make you pay if you do decide to double. But you definitely, the double is definitely the right decision, because he's very clearly like their entire offensive engine, right? Randall's good, but he's not Edwards. And if, you know, if Randall's shooting threes, like, you know, I can kind of maybe live with it. If you're able to double Anthony Edwards, like, and like, you know, force a Jaden McDaniels 3-point shot, which, hey, great, Randy, he hit some tonight, but if you're able to force that, it is definitely the right decision, in my opinion, overall. Yeah. Groundhog Day? Oh god. It is honestly, I hate the Bulls records. Like, hey, we've gone a 3-game winning streak since the halfway mark, I guess, which is something, but I just I don't know, I don't really, I'm still really like not moved at all. Like, the Bulls might go on, like, you know, this might be like a 5-game winning streak again, but then the Bulls are gonna like lose like 10 of their next 15 or something. Like, it's just, I don't really feel like anything has really changed yet, but who knows. Feel this season teams are way more comfortable telling their key players after injury to come off the bench, and I like that. 1B domination, that felt like it lit a fire more, which is, it is honestly pretty cool to see. Like, especially like 1B when he was just like coming in and just killing people. But I do think though that it's the league just being so concerned, especially if it's like a calf injury. The league is just very concerned right now, and so any way to try to limit that player's minutes with any soft tissue injuries, I think they're honestly all ears for it, because they're gonna find, like, they're legitimately trying to find any way possible to make sure that people don't get injured right now. And so if you're able to cut the game, you know, the way that Billy Donovan describes is that you take a 48-minute game and you cut it down to like a 40-minute game, right? For when that player officially like first time checks in, like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because you're gonna already put him on a minutes restriction, and so if you're able to find a way to cut down the overall game time he's gonna be playing in, makes a lot of sense overall. Yeah, we did versus OKC in the first one. Yeah, Julian for Dayron Sharp. I mean, I've been clear about my Dayron Sharp, you know, fandom. I mean, I'd do it. Do I think that the Nets do it? No. You'd have to probably add some more to that, maybe. But yeah, I'd be open for it. Obviously, I would give Okoro shots, but I feel like most of his are purely when he's left wide open. Yeah, the Bulls don't run plays for Okoro at all. Yeah. So yeah, like we can't really take away shots from him because like there's games where like, he shoots like 2 shots. So yeah, in terms of trying to find a way to give more shots to Buzelis, it's not going to come from him. Yeah, to me, I think the biggest one is Vucevic, and then like we'll have to see if we can maybe take away some of Kobe's, but I think Vucevic is probably the biggest person right now to take away from. Falcons for some reason want to stand pat because they think they have a chance for something. I think that they're just, the way that they look at it is, like they understand with Zion that if they trade him now, it's not much of a return for them. And so instead they're thinking that, okay, well, like we might as well just keep him. If things do go awry, right, like they can just waive him and they'll get out of his contract. Like it is very possible for them to do that. Like it's not like a situation where it's like, oh, Zion's like finally kind of has some value again. Like we should probably dump him off right now when he does have that value. It's like if it ends up like being catastrophic again where he isn't playing, they could just waive him. And they're not held liable to his future years of his contract then. And so as much as like people think that, oh, maybe it's a possibility, and there's multiple reports going out right now that the Bulls and Pelicans have discussed a Zion Williamson trade. It's just that I really just don't think that the Pelicans are going to be willing to break up with any of their 4 guys that they look at, like Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Zion, obviously, and then Jeremiah Fears, Derek Queen. They're not willing to give up those guys right now. So if that's the case, I don't really know who are really some buy low options, honestly. I kind of am scared that the Bulls are going to make a really stupid trade with the Pelicans that is going to give us Misi, but it's going to come at a big cost. And I just don't think it's really worth it. And I'm going to show you guys that in a second here so you guys can get your opinion on it. But yeah, I'm very concerned about this deadline because I feel like that the Bulls are in yet again another situation where it's like they should be selling. They absolutely should be selling right now, but they're not going to. And it's like it's unfortunately it's one of those years where if the Bulls don't make the right decision and they don't sell off, like there's guys can just leave, right? Namely, Io and Kobe are the ones right now that it's like if you don't sell them off right now, like they could just leave, and you absolutely failed another deadline and overall decision making. So it's very crucial that the Bulls do this right. Bulls can sell fan favorite Trey Jones. By fan favorite, I mean one of my current roster. I think a lot of Bulls fans love Trey Jones, including myself. I love Trey Jones. But, I mean, I really do think that he might have the best value on this Bulls roster right now. So, as much as I love him, I just feel like if you can sell him for something good, you definitely do it. Now, he's not a guy that needs to be sold off because he does have years left remaining on his contract. But, like, to me, though, I think teams are going to be calling for him easily. He's a backup, so like you're not gonna be expecting like, you know, a lot of value, but it's something that I'm like, yeah, I'd be taking all the calls and trying to get a bidding war for him. Maybe my weird feeling with Kobe is he is peak Bulls in of himself. No defense, scored a bunch, and streaky has to balance off wins and losses even within a game. I think it's a fair assessment for this season for sure. Like he's had two good games in a row. This is not really that good of a game. He did score 22, but it's like it's really not that good of a game from him. So I still don't really feel too great about him this season. So I do think that like that's overall like a good kind of assessment. But I would almost honestly argue that like it's almost worse with how he's played this year for the most part. Like I understand that, you know, the games prior it was 3 good games in a row. My bad. It was 3 good, or wait, was it 2 or 3? Anyway, no, it was 2 good games in a row. I get that he's had those games. I'm not gonna take that away from him. It's just that, I mean, the year for him has just been mostly a downhill roller coaster. And the turnovers going up to as high as it's going up to this year is just not good. So yeah, I'm having some problems with Kobe. Like, you know, this game he was big down the stretch. He hit two key shots, so I'll give him that. But I would also argue that when the Bulls are going through their drought, like he was a big reason why the Bulls almost lost this game. So Yeah, it is definitely, I think what you said, Charles, is a good assessment. But I would almost even say it's a little bit worse than that. Zion feels like he is fit to the system is 0. He wouldn't have the stamina, so system would shift, and then nobody fits it, and Tomlin doesn't work for anything. I mean, I've already made my stance on the Zion it pretty clear that I feel like that him, Giddey, and Buzelis doesn't work. Because like if you're not aware, Zion does not play defense either. So like that he would fit in with this Bulls team where they just don't play defense, but it doesn't help this team at all, obviously, on that end of the floor, and the Bulls obviously need more defensive help than anything right now. I also then think that him and Giddey wouldn't really work out because, as you know, as much as Giddey's improved, it's the fact that he like his whole goal is to drive, right? Zion doesn't offer any spacing, so unless he's going to be playing 6'6" center, which I don't really see him ever doing, then you're going to have a big man out there who has to shoot the 3-point shot, or else you're gonna have then 2 guys that are acting like big men next to Josh Giddey, who also just wants to drive. The spacing won't work. So offensively, I just don't think it works. Now, I have made my stance clear about the fact that, hey, if you could just get Zion and like not give up anything, like yeah, sure, do it, because you're just getting some talent for basically nothing, right? I have been willing to part ways with that Portland pick, but like, I'm not willing to part ways with like anybody significant to this roster, really. And so if that is, if that's available, which I don't think it will be, like there's no reason for the Pelicans to accept that, then yeah, like I'll do that deal and then we'll figure out the rest later. Like you got Zion on the roster and like, you'll figure out what to do. But there's no way in hell I am trading one of the team's current first round picks, like their own first round picks. There's no way I'm doing that. Because I don't think it really helps. Like I really do think that raise your offensive ceiling, maybe. It's just not the best fit overall with what they're currently building. And defensively, it doesn't help at all. So I don't really see it as like it's gonna significantly make this team like better all of a sudden. They're gonna like in a trade like that, it's like you're gonna have to like make some big decisions on like who you're really trying to build around, right? Is it gonna actually be Giddey? Or if you're truly building around Zion, then it's like you might have to either shift Giddey to being much more off ball and more 3-point shooter archetype, or you have to look to trade him and try to build around Zion effectively. So it's just not if you think that Zion's going to come in and just like fit in well with this team, I would argue that it won't for many reasons. Also, what Charles brought up is that Zion plays slower. Like he doesn't like run and at a fast pace like we do. That's not his usual game. Stylistically, it doesn't make sense. I think spacing wise on offense, it doesn't make any sense. And then defensively, it doesn't help. So it just, I have a lot of issues with it. And so if I have all these questions, then why should I trade a pick for him? That's my question at the end of the day. Bulls will sign Vooch and retire his jersey. Don't get me wrong, I am expecting a Vucevic extension in like any time from here on out. Because it does seem like I mean, Jake Fisher had this report today that there's like, it's very unlikely Vucevic is getting traded. Oh, who would have guessed that, right? We should have honestly just traded him to the Warriors last season for a 2nd round pick. Like I said, we should have done it, and the Bulls are still finding a way to like, still feeling the effects of not doing that trade. We're not trading him this season. Like I've already gotten to the point right now is that we're not trading Vucevic this season, and he will be extended soon, whether that is now or it's come the off season. The first move the Bulls are going to do with their cap space is re-sign Vucevic, which would be great. I would actually left that Zion doesn't play defense. This is how he kind of fits how the Bulls play. Yeah, that's how he'll fit in with the Bulls. That he doesn't really play defense. Yeah, I don't love the fit. I think there's too many issues with it. Again, like I said, if you can give up nothing for Zion, sure, I'll take the talent. If I'm truly giving up basically nothing for him, then yeah, I'll go ahead and take the talent. But if I'm giving up a 1st round pick, which to me are extremely valuable, no way in hell I'm doing it. I want Vooch on a vet man, and not because he's that bad alone, but because he played too much to take the minutes from growth potential. I mean, I'm with you. I want this man off this roster very quickly. Yeah, I'm fully with you. Like, truly, I would trade it for a bag of chips right now. Well, I think it's not too controversial for me to say I'd build around Giddey over Zion at this point. If it's less risk and I pick between the two, well, yeah, I think you obviously go with the player that has more availability, which is Giddey. In terms of like overall, like, you know, true potential, if we're not talking about injury, like Zion is obviously like all-star caliber easily, and he has the overall better potential, but he's just not healthy, right? So yeah, I don't think it's too controversial, honestly, of that opinion. I think it would be controversial to say though that if you think that like, oh, like Zion is not all-star like caliber, like no, like he's very clearly all-star caliber. If we're not talking about injuries, like he's very clearly injured and he's not gonna make the all-star team this season because he's injured. So that's how it's gonna go. Obviously, I just see Giddey as a piece not built around, but he does have lots of types that fit with him. Well, I don't know if I'd say lots of types. I do think that there has to be some like specific types that need to be built for him. But I do think though that if he does adjust his game and the Bulls do adjust how like they kind of view him, then I do think that he'll fit with a lot of styles. Like very clearly the Bulls can play fast with him, and I do think that if Giddey does adjust to like being more off ball, that he could fit into a much slower type of system. I think he'll be just fine. It's just that I'm more concerned right now defensively with him because I had this discussion at the end of last stream where when it came to Giddey, I'm still just trying to figure out what exactly the Bulls look at him as, because I mean it sounds like the Bulls are like all in on him and like he's like their MVP, right? Like he's everything. And unfortunately for me, it's just like that's not I don't look at him like that. And look, he has every right to prove me wrong on that. I hope he does, but I just don't look at him like that. And so it was really starting to make me kind of question some stuff because the way that the Bulls defense has had to look this season, and it's just kind of like I'm just talking about like this current team. Like, you know, we can change things later, but I'm talking about like this current team. Like, if the Bulls are truly all in, like I'm talking about the Bulls vision here, right? The Bulls are truly all in on it's Giddey, Kobe, Buzelis, Asenge as their core. Like, you have to understand that there's too many holes already with that roster. And I was making the point about because there's some other Bulls fans that were tweeting out about some stuff about like how the Bulls need to build everything around Josh Giddey moving forward because he's currently their best player. Like, they have to go out and build everything around him. And get supporting cast, when I'm like, no, the Bulls need to, as good as Giddey's been, and I give him a ton of credit for how good he's been, what the Bulls need still is that they need to find a player that is better than Giddey to actually go and compete. Like, having Josh Giddey be your best player on a roster, I don't think is gonna get you very far. Having Josh Giddey be, you know, a starter on the roster, not your best player, maybe not even your second best player, but maybe he is your second best player or third best player on the roster, that will get you a lot farther, in my opinion, than what is currently being built. And so it's either Buzelis has to develop, or Giddey has to find a way to hit another gear, or the Bulls need to draft somebody, right? And that's why, in my opinion, it's just like you need to go draft somebody. Go and get a top pick and just go be bad for a year. But we know they're never going to do that. So I just don't really know what exactly the Bulls are going to do to get out of this like stuck in mud feeling, in my opinion. And with Giddey specifically, like I was making this point about like, you know, people saying like we need to build around him. I'm like, if you build around Josh Giddey, you have to understand that there are so many defensive things that you need to cover up for. For example, I was bringing up the Charlotte game, where Giddey is like being placed on Miles Bridges because he can't guard like Con Knipple, or he can't guard Brandon Miller, or he can't guard any of the other like smaller guards on the Hornets team, right? And so you're then forcing like Montes Buzelis have to guard Con Knipple or Brandon Miller, and you're putting Giddey on Miles Bridges because that's the best foot speed matchup for him. Like, that's a lot that you have to kind of consider for him. And I'm like, in my opinion, I wouldn't want to do that. I think that he is not good enough to be where you have to like really heavily compensate to try to like, you know, cover up his weaknesses. he needs to get better defensively, which was kind of like where I got to at the end of it overall. Whether it is that he does become the best player on this team or moving forward, or the Bulls go and get someone better and he's the second best player on this team, and so his offense is not as valuable anymore, which means that he has to really work on his defensive end. But yeah, it is definitely like, I'm with Charles here, is that I think Giddey is a build with piece. I don't look at him as the piece, right? I don't look at him as a K Cunningham. I don't look at him as a Luka Doncic. I don't look at him as the guy. That does not mean that he can't be one of the best, like, you know, 3 players on a winning team. I think he can, but I think tonight was honestly like a big indication of it. And I understand he's just getting back, but like, we've seen this kind of all season long, where when it comes down to crunch time, like, it's hard for Giddey to kind of go anywhere because the game slows down and the ball's in his hands a lot. Or if he tries to, like, you know, put the ball in his hands and like he tries to like move around, like he dribbles a lot and doesn't really get too far. And it's just because when the game slows down, like, it's kind of harder for him to kind of get his offensive rhythm. Which is why I'm like, I think he needs to kind of adjust, because we saw Trey Jones and Kobe were the main ball handlers to end this game tonight, mostly Trey Jones. So I think that with Giddey, he's going to have to adjust at some point to where he's going to have to just be a little bit more off ball. And I think that's, you know, I think it's not only going to, I think it's going to help him overall with just like, he's going to get more effort defensively, and I'm hoping, right? And find ways to like make the impact in other areas besides just scoring. And, you know, passing the ball constantly. But instead, like, he's going to be, you know, shooting more threes, which I think he should already be doing. And he's going to find ways to effectively score, not, you know, be a, like, downhill action, right? I do think that he can kind of be that Swiss Army knife. It's just that it's going to take an adjustment from him, because he's already now, you know, in his eyes, right, he's like being used as the way he wants to be used. And so it's just, yeah, you know, again, he's done great, but if he can't even, at least for now, he's not even averaging 20 points per game, and he's being used at like the most, like, at the highest level he's ever been used before, and he's having a career year, but even in this season, he still can't even average 20 points per game. I'm like, okay, well, if that's the case, then I think you're gonna have to look to being, you know, just a little bit more off ball moving forward. And maybe it's already kind of happened as the season's kind of gone on, like getting Kobe back. Like, Kobe has to handle the ball a lot. We are seeing Trey Jones get a lot of the ball handling responsibility, especially down the stretch of games. And so maybe Giddey is already adjusting. However, I will say that, you know, before the injury happened, like, his touches are still very high. So I do think that there could be some moments where we take the ball out of his hands a little bit, and have him just be more of a cutter and shooter and screen setter for a possession, just to kind of diversify his offensive game, and diversify the Bulls' offense a little bit. Would a Cat for Vucevic swap work for you? Again, I think win now moves are a very bad decision. But, like, you know, if we're getting team context, Cat for Vucevic, obviously, like, yes, like, Cat is a significantly better player than Vucevic. Do I think the Bulls are in a position to do that sort of deal and it makes sense? No. Let me rephrase that. Can the Bulls trade for Karl-Anthony Towns? Like, and they have the assets to do so? Yeah, I think they do. They have enough first round picks to get Karl-Anthony Towns. Does it make sense, though, for where they are currently as a team? I think no. I don't really think that it makes a lot of sense at all. I don't think Karl-Anthony Towns can be your best player on a winning team. I think he has to be the second or third best player. And he also is not a good defender. So it just keeps bringing me back to just like, man, we're looking at guys that are just still not good defenders. We always hear Knicks fans saying they want him gone. I unfortunately have a different opinion when it comes to the New York Knicks, which is that I think that they need to come to a realization that Brunson is, like, they really either have to go and get, like, a Rudy Gobert at center, which I know he's not available, but I'm just saying that they need to do that, or I think that they might actually really need to heavily consider like what they're gonna do with Jalen Brunson moving forward. Like, I don't think they're gonna trade him at all. But like, Jalen Brunson's defensive numbers this season are atrocious. The Knicks defense when Jalen Brunson's on the floor is one of the worst teams in the league. Worst defenses in the league. Like, it is honestly insane when you look at like the on-off stats when it comes to Jalen Brunson, like in terms of defense for the Knicks. Now I understand that Cat is also not a good defender. He's also part of the issue, but small guards in this league, man, like if you're depending on small guards like as much as they would depend on Jalen Brunson to like do so much, like I feel like you're in trouble. You know, people didn't want to believe that Becky Hammond was right. Becky Hammond, when she said that Jalen Brunson is not the best player, like, for a winning team, like, I mean, I agreed with her, just because, like, history has always said that small guards, like, you just aren't going to win with them. But the way that I'm watching this Knicks team this season, it is very, very, very concerning with what I'm seeing recently. And the Knicks have had some pretty bad, like, a really bad rough stretch recently. So, I appreciate the question overall. It is like honestly a pretty decent thought. Like, if the Knicks are starting to panic, like, do they trade Cat and try to see if they can kind of find some, like, a rebuild a little bit of their interior defense and try to see if they can supplement some better defenders around Brunson, maybe. Honestly, a decent thought. Vucevic would not be that sort of player that would help them in return, but it would be like something different. But yeah, I don't think that. I think the Knicks are just going to stand pat with those two, unfortunately. And with the Bulls, it's just Cat doesn't push anything. Like, do I think that it makes the Bulls a better team? Yeah. I think it's significant enough, though, to make this Bulls team, like, you know, a top 6 team in the East. I don't. And I mean that, like, convincingly. Like, maybe they could get in, but it's not enough for me to be like, yeah, you're in. I feel like you're just almost around the same spot right now, unfortunately. I don't know what the Knicks are going to do, man. The Knicks are... It's honestly a very concerning situation right now. What... Sorry, I don't even know what I just did. Oh, I did the multi-view. I think I need to get a new mouse, man. My mouse has been having issues recently. So... the Knicks are still in the 3rd seed, even though it's like been a rough stretch. But they're 3-7 in their last 10. Like that's not good. But they have some decisions to make, man. I honestly don't know what exactly they're gonna do. But like they have like 2 very solid defenders around on the perimeter, and Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. Now I do think Mikal Bridges' defense is not, you know, it's not as elite as it once was, but it's still solid. Now look, Brunson's still their best scorer. That's not going away. But the Knicks, like, I don't even like when Brunson's like off the floor. I don't even think that their issue is scoring. I feel like their issue is still defensively. Mostly when he's on the floor, I guess I should say. So yeah, there are some big posts going around right now. It's just like. It really does make me like kind of look around the league right now, and just one, it makes me extremely appreciate you know, guys like Curry and like how insanely good they are, even as small as they are, and the success that Curry has had. Like that's just not normal. What Curry was able to do in this league and is still doing in this league is just insane to look at. But what I've been seeing recently when it comes to other smaller guards, like it's just, I don't know. And I'm talking about guys that are, you know, heavily like used or like big and as like the franchise guy. Maybe it's just like I don't really know if these guys can like be that sort of player and lead their team to a contending level status. I just don't. It's something that I do think that needs to be kind of considered moving forward. Is just like, I mean, the biggest example right now is Trae Young, right? Like Trae Young just got traded, and it's just like, yeah. I mean, can you blame Atlanta really? Like, you know, the numbers so far have been that the Atlanta Hawks have been better without Trae Young this season. Now He made it to an Eastern Conference Finals, but like, you know, he never got farther than that. Same thing with the Knicks right now. It's just like Eastern Conference Finals, but like don't get much farther. You know, I'm not saying that you can't be like a good overall team. It's just that you be like contending level, and then your margin for error is just very small. I'm trying to find a tweet here that's been like talking about hold on, it's gonna take me a second here, but they had the on-off stats when it came to Brunson, and I was just like, oh boy. We need to have some discussions, y'all. Guys, if Brunson's your second best player, it's like, okay, you can find a way around it. But if he's your first best player, because the Knicks need him out there every night, right? Like the Knicks need him out there at all times because like he's their main scorer, but he's also like they're by far the worst defender. And it's, you know, in an argument, in a sense, it's like it's not fully his fault. It's, you know, it's just his size. Come on, sorry. There you go. So again, let's just take a small look at this graphic, okay? So when it comes to current lineups, okay, here's Brunson and just, you know, just Mitchell Robinson's on the floor, who like when he's right, he's like one of the best. He's a very solid rim protector, or like one of the best rim protectors in the league. But these are lineups with Brunson all off the floor, and you're seeing like the defensive rating, okay? Very solid. Like Cat on the floor only, like still good. Now this lineup's fine, right? But then when it's just Brunson, here's the defense. When it's these two together, the defense is not great at all. The offense is fine though, but if it's Brunson and Robinson, it's just like this doesn't work either. The defense is not good. Now there's still plus, you know, in terms of net. Right, and then you're seeing that like their offense does die when Brunson's not like on the floor fully, but it's just kind of like this like big discussion right now of like, oh god, like, we need to have some discussions. Now, can Brunson just like keep up? Yeah, maybe it's gonna be fine, but it is just something to heavily consider moving forward, and why some things are happening when it comes to the New York Knicks and their struggles. All right, let's talk a little bit about a trade here possibility, because I'm honestly really concerned that this is potentially a trade that the Bulls are going to be doing. So again, here's where I'm thinking the Bulls are at right now. Okay, the Bulls have been heavily rumored to want Messi, and right now it does seem like that he's potentially available. From what we've been hearing from the Pelicans, but Bulls want Messi, and I'm just like, the way that I was looking at it, I'm just like, I honestly don't really know who the Bulls would be willing to trade for Messi that would get the job done. I mean, Messi's on the second year of his rookie deal, so it's just like, to me, trading Dale and Terry doesn't make much sense at all. Now, granted, I mean, the Pelicans have made some weird trades, like that trading their own pick this season to the Atlanta Hawks doesn't make a lot of sense, but so like maybe they would accept this. I seriously doubt it though. Which is the reason why is I'm like heavily concerned that like this is gonna be the trade, and I'm gonna lose my mind if this is actually the deal. But I think the Bulls might try to cash in on like some of their expiring. So like for example, like Kevin Huerter, who looks like honestly he's like falling out of the rotation recently, would be on the go. Okay, and so maybe also Zach Collins as well. Would like be part of this deal. All right, my mouse is all messed up. Hold on. Okay. So basically, though, my concern is that like this is like the deal that's maybe on the way. Now, don't get me wrong. As a player himself, only as a player, I love DeJounte Murray. I mean, this is a guy that I firmly love. I love his game and have loved him since he's been in the league. I've been a major fan of DeJounte Murray, but it just doesn't make sense for this Bulls team. And you're wondering, like, well, why would they do this? Well, basically, DeJounte's your Kobe replacement. Okay, like you bring, like you instead you trade Kobe away, or you don't bring Kobe back, maybe. Whatever you decide to do, it's basically that DeJounte, who's out with an Achilles injury, he come back and be the starting shooting guard for this team moving forward, or whatever kind of way you want to look at it. But here's my logic, right? Like, I think that if you're the Bulls and you're all in on Giddey, you're looking at like, okay, well, we need another guard that is very good defensively next to Giddey that can also offer some on-ball scoring punch. That needs to complement him with his defense mostly. And so DeJounte Murray, now I don't know exactly what type of DeJounte Murray you're going to be getting when he comes back after a torn Achilles, but DeJounte Murray is a very good defender in his career, right? And you basically slide him next to Giddey, and it's like, oh, well, there you go. Like he's the main defender. You helped cover up Josh's weakness with Murray. You also want Misi, and so you go ahead and trade away Zach Collins, who can't stay healthy, and Kevin Huerter, who is having a horrific season from 3-point range, and is falling out of the rotation because he's just not playing well at all. You trade your expirings for then Misi, who might be your starting center of the future. I don't really know. It's up to people who decide. As much as I kind of like Misi, I don't really know if he's really your starting center in the future. It's still kind of too early to tell. And you're getting your starting shooting guard, and so basically, as former front offices would say, is like, oh, we're doing our free agency early with this deal. DeJounte Murray is making $30 million a year. Yeah, we could have maybe had like $30 million in cap space, but instead we went ahead and used our expiring contracts, and we went ahead and took DeJounte Murray and are taking a little bit of a gamble on him. Yeah, he has a torn Achilles, and so I'm sure that the New Orleans Pelicans definitely want to get him off the books. And so they're willing to part ways with Misi, and that's basically the sweetener of the deal, and the Bulls like Misi. And so there you go. This is the trade. And if you're wondering about my opinion, I'm just like, this is a stupid trade. It's a win-now move. It just doesn't make any sense to do this deal. It's a win-now move for a guard that is coming off an Achilles tear. And he's also like not the best shooter. So making this sort of deal doesn't make any sense for your team that is currently trying to build with their young players. This is a win now player that is going to have to come in, and you're going to hope like DeJounte's like all-star form, but like I think it's just a bad bet overall. And instead of having cap space to kind of maybe work around with and maybe take on a bad contract for either expiring or for a young player or something like that, you're taking on money early and not giving you that flexibility in free agency for a guy that is not played all season long. Like, DeJounte hasn't played in a long time. DeJounte tore his Achilles early on in the season last season. So it's not like this is something that can just, DeJounte's going to come back and just be like, oh, he's great. Like, it's just a bad overall decision. But this is kind of my logic right now. With what I'm hearing, it's just like, okay, yeah, Misi is like someone the Bulls are targeting. They're trying to also target Zion, but doesn't seem like he might be available. Your two expirings right now are Zach Collins and Kevin Huerter that are the biggest expirings. They're very clearly the two kind of biggest trade candidates right now with in terms of like trading expirings away. And kind of taking like a swing on something. And, to some teams they're maybe kind of interesting because it's just like it gives them salary cap relief. The Bulls and Pelicans seem to just always be talking, and I just kind of got to hear. I'm just like, oh god, like I hate it. Yeah, I don't like this deal at all. So not quite sure what exactly we're gonna be looking for, but I'm gonna really hope to God that this is not the deal the Bulls do. I don't really think it really benefits them too much. And again, I don't know what DeJounte's going to come back and be. He's also 29. So I like, he's not like he's getting any younger at this point. He's soon gonna be 30. This is definitely a risk if you do this, and I just don't really think it's worth it. I think there are better things to do with your expiring contracts versus doing this. Personally, that's just my opinion, though. Yeah, I still honestly don't know what exactly, like, which teams are like really looking to like send some money out, like future money out. We can like send like Kevin Huerter over there or something. Like, I still just go back to the Orlando Magic, and it doesn't really make much sense, but like I just still kind of go back to them. And it's just because like I know that they have a Jonathan Isaac contract that I think the Bulls can absorb. And it would significantly help the Magic. Like it would tremendously help the Magic next season if the Bulls took this deal, or took his deal away, and you gave an expiring contract to them. And so I don't know, like, yeah, I know we've been talking about like Dalen Terry as like someone going to Orlando like all season long, and then Orlando would have to send someone back or something. But I don't really know. Tyus Jones, I guess. Actually, this wouldn't even work because the Magic are capped. So, I'm concerned. That's all I'm going to say. Especially after this win tonight, I think that there are some big concerns what the Bulls might be looking to do in free agency moving forward here. But, or sorry, at the trade deadline, I should say. So, trade deadline is basically 2 weeks away. Give it the lookouts for any rumors, anything that Jake Fisher says. I do think that is interesting to kind of listen to. He's not more reliable than Shams, but he does have sources very clearly. Keep an eye on Brett Siegel. That's another name. He writes for Clutch Points, which I don't trust that website, so I don't really think I should trust him. But like, he seems to be getting things right. So just keep an eye on him. I wouldn't like retweet anything he tweets out, but just like kind of read it. And then obviously listen to anything the beat writers say. I do think the beat writers are important to listen to. They're very important to listen to. So anything Casey Johnson says in the fast break, even Joe Coley, who I really hate, I do think that it's important to listen to those guys because it's that time, and I do think that it is very crucial that the Bulls get this trade deadline correct. If they don't, then I have very little faith moving forward with this team. So I'm gonna hope that they do things right. I think next stream, which I don't exactly know what it's gonna be. I'm not sure if it's gonna be Saturday, because I know the Bulls playing Saturday here, but I might have to take that stream off. But yeah, we could talk a little bit more about like some trade ideas, and if obviously if anything happens, we'll talk about it. But I don't think anything's gonna happen until maybe like 3 or 4 days away from the trade deadline. So I'm not really expecting anything to happen anytime soon. But watch something happen later tonight. That'd be funny as hell. But yeah, we'll talk about some trades. I want to hear you guys' trade ideas, and we can maybe break down some trades that kind of makes sense and everything. But yeah, until then, I don't really know what's gonna happen right now. I made my case of why, like, I think extending Ayo Dosunmu was fine, but I'm worried that the Bulls honestly are gonna somehow find a way to mess up Ayo, and it's like you legit have two options with Ayo. Okay, it's either that you trade him, which is probably the best option of the two, or you extend him, or at least try to extend him. And that's definitely, I think it's probably the worst option, but of the two options, like, but I think it's still fine. Watch them try to do neither, right? And they're gonna let Ayo just go into free agency without even trying to extend him at all, and he could just leave for nothing. If there's anybody that knows about the Bulls' mediocrity, right, as someone that grew up watching the Bulls and has played for the Bulls the last 5 seasons, I don't know. And even though he's Chicago, if he is truly about like he wants to go win, right? Then, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if he leaves. So yeah, I'm definitely concerned. I think that there's big concerns right now with how AK thinks, but I'm gonna hope that AK does not do anything too rash and actually does the right things for once. And I'm gonna be very happy. Like, you know, trade Vucevic for like a top 55 protected second round pick. That's a good decision in my opinion. That's a good decision. It's okay. You know, if you want to trade Kobe, cool. Just, you know, get decent value back. But yeah, I'm very concerned. Because right now, I mean, like, there's this whole discussion right now with a lot of Bulls fans. It's like, wow, the Bulls are 4 games out of 3 seed. When you really look at it, they're only 4 games behind. Now, I think that's really stupid to kind of look at it that way. Like, the way I personally look at it is like how far are you over 500. That's the way that I personally look at it. And so, like, you know, we're 500 right now. But you know, 6 seed is like 5 games over 500, but the 3 seed is really 8 games over 500. And next you're going through a tough stretch. I get it, but you know, if you're thinking of the way that the Bulls fans are thinking right now, it's like, oh wow, like we can be pretty solid. Then yeah, we're probably gonna get a buy deadline of buying vets and trying to like round out this team and add some defense and hope it helps boost this core, I guess. I just think that it's truly leading just to mediocrity, and we're going to spend a draft pick that doesn't make any sense to spend. And we're not going to make the right decisions with our expiring contracts. So let's just hope and pray. So next game, though, for the Bulls is going to be against Boston Celtics. We're going to be back at the United Center on Saturday. Like I think you guys can tell, like, I'm not feeling fully the best right now. So this will be TBD if I do stream. But last time the Bulls faced the Celtics, it was a ugly first half. It was a very ugly first half by both teams. Within the Celtics took a firm lead in the second half. The Bulls kind of made it close in the fourth quarter, but the Celtics kind of like dominated that game for the most part in the second half. So also in that game, though, Jaylen Brown sucked. So I'm going to go ahead and make a big, bold decision here, or, you know, proclamation, that I do not think Jaylen Brown is going to have as terrible of a game as he did at TD Garden last time the Bulls were faced the Celtics. To me, the Celtics are like actually one of the worst teams for the Bulls to face, because the Bulls play a lot faster than the Celtics, and the Bulls play significantly faster. The Celtics play really slow. The Celtics also shoot a ton of 3-point shots. And the Bulls, I feel like their defense against 3-point shooting is not exactly the best. The Celtics are also like very solid in terms of like their overall just kind of set defense. They have switchability of 1 through 5, right? And so it's hard for the Bulls to kind of create advantages within the offense, even if they were passing it really well, because the Celtics just have guys that can help and recover very effectively and switch 1 through 5. So it's hard to kind of create any advantage. I think tonight was a statement win, by the way. Like, I do think it was like a pretty big statement win to win tonight. But I do think that the statement is kind of a little bit of like, yeah, the Bulls are still kind of mid, and the Timberwolves are pretty awful currently right now. They're not exactly playing the best basketball, but the Bulls are at least, you know, they're not like the bottom feeders of the Eastern Conference, is what I think the statement is. But yet again, it's just that it's just sort of stuck in mediocrity, and I don't think it's a good place to be. So we'll see how this one fares. Buzell had a really good game last night against the Celtics. Hope that happens again. Can't wait to see Josh Giddey play again. I think that, you know, obviously a fantastic first game, but he's going to still need to be ramped up into more minutes and everything. So looking forward to seeing him play more games. And again, I hope that we don't get wins that are like, you know, tonight I think was like a pretty solid overall win where it's like the backcourt and some of Buzelis was the big reason why for the win. I just don't really want wins where it just feels like the vets just kind of carry the team. Like, I don't want like a Kevin Huerter like magnet ball. I don't want a Vucevic, you know, carry to the win. Like those sort of situations really bother me. So I do think that, you know, we'll take it as whatever happens, and hopefully it's just not one of those like magnet balls for like Kevin Huerter or something like that. So which is very rare this season, but it has happened. All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all tuning into the stream. I'm sorry for my lack of energy and my voice and everything, but it's just, yeah. It's unfortunately flu season over here at in the United States, but also just in the Chicago area. So my family's been sick, and I'm also sick. Or I'm just like fighting something really. But thank you guys for tuning into the streams all season long. It really does mean a lot that we are still bringing audiences even when I'm missing games this season. So thank you guys so much for being here and chatting with me and listening to me. And if you've not hit the like button on the stream, helps me out a lot. I do appreciate all the support with the likes and the comments and everything like that. Let's play again on Saturday. I'll see how I feel. But either way, though, please, for everyone that's in the Chicago area, please stay warm in this big cold front that's coming. I know that tonight into tomorrow is going to be ridiculously cold. So please be safe. Please be warm. And please be careful if you do have to go out. It's definitely not the best time to be going out and about. This weekend, so please be careful, and I'll see y'all next time I see y'all. All right, y'all, peace out, have a good night, please be safe, see y'all next time, peace.